Okay, so my presentation is not as long and narrative. I apologize for that. As you all know, I sort of began this project by wanting to explore the very brief period in the early 1980s when what is sort of known as like concert dance or postmodern dance and street dance, so forms of break dancing, or that's from New York, or forms of street dance from LA, like breaking, popping, locking, early voguing, sort of shared the stage at the Kitchen, which is a venue for experimental performance, now in Chelsea, but back then was on the corner of Wooster and Broome in Soho. And studying dance from such a like later moment in the 20th century means that there's so much photographic, video, documentary evidence. And I really wanted to figure out how to sort of show dance, because often people are like, well, how do you even study dance? It's this fleeting, ephemeral thing, but actually there are so many traces. And I had this vision of sort of making a zine or some sort of like collaged, illustrated narrative history, in part because I wanted to have the sort of space to think across media. I was really inspired by Brent Edwards' work with collage and thinking across media. He writes that collage is about intervals. It's about putting things together to amplify or defy distances between them. Thus, the implications of collage are profoundly social. And that's sort of the line that was guiding my thinking and my work. So I went about writing like an essay. I'm in the research seminar right now with Professor Blackmore. So I wrote a paper this semester about this period of sort of interaction between street and postmodern dance. And I've started to make, I've only completed 2 so far, these collage works that sort of are about how can we relate these 2 forms that are normally considered so separate in their own historiographies within dance history, through collage, right? How can we play with these distances and sort of think about the truly social production of a new type of knowledge about dance at this time. So you have on the right just like a clip from my draft of the essay that's about the thing that you're seeing, the collage. So the question I pose at the beginning of this paragraph is, how did audience members make meaning of this mixed bill, this dance week program where it was like, the Rocksteady crew, break dancers with sort of some very famous names in postmodern dance, Lisa Fox, Arnie Zane in particular. So the way I sort of put these images together, you can see resonances between the movement, right? Like in the bottom left corner, you see them both, the breakers in the midst of sort of a spin on his back. And the postmodern dancer, I'm not sure who it is sort of in this similar position. And clearly, they're coming from really different places, but like maybe there are resonances in sort of the angles you see and the way people are, finding their balance sort of tilted, stuff like that. So that's the first slide. And then the second is of another event sort of in this same year. The Kitchen sent a bunch of artists on tour all over America called the Kitchen Touring USA, and it combined postmodern and street dance, as well as rap music and new wave music and free jazz and performance art. And it was this sort of amazing event. And on the ferry, audiences sort of went from deck to deck to watch these people in this like floating club that combined nightlife and sort of highbrow performance art. And it really did this huge thing to sort of shake the sort of snooty reputation of performance art, according to sort of reviewers who came to the event, because it was showing street dance and rap, Fat by Freddy. So you see here, like the different ways. I mean, it's hard to see because I just took photos on my phone. I haven't scanned these yet, but you see how the audience is like right up next to the break dancers, sitting on the ground in the bottom right. And then with the postmodern dancer, Lisa Fox, you sort of see them standing a little more aloof. But I just wanted to sort of, again, put these things together on a page in a visual way, to sort of think beyond just writing about dance and actually bring the material traces of the practice, especially because, at the time, zines and sort of DIY aesthetics were the dominant way that these people were sort of advertising their own work and thinking about their own work. So that's also what I wanted to reference. I interviewed people for this project. That was another aspect of the sort of public history project. And while doing that, I realized that they sort of were coming into consciousness about their own role in the production of dance history as they were talking to me. And so I realized that the audience I want for this project is sort of the dance and experimental performance community. I want them to be aware of their own sort of, generative work. And I don't think they'll ever read an academic article, but they might, read a zine that features their own work and photographs of themselves and their own personal sort of documents from the period. So the idea is that I'll keep making these collages for the different events that I write about in the paper to illustrate my argument, and then do some sort of illustrated printed version that I can distribute to the people who helped me make the project, who were sort of my interview sources, but also put them at, Printed Matter bookstore, which people associated with the kitchen founded in the 1970s as sort of a place for artists to document their work in a more permanent way through printed materials. So that's sort of where I'm at right now. Yeah.